What's going on, everybody? Welcome back to the Dom and Pop DC Sports Talk Plus podcast. This week, we're going to be talking all things ESPN Plus top 10 quarterback rankings. We're going to give ours. We're going to react to theirs. It's going to be great. We're also going to, of course, talk about where does Carson Wentz fall in there? And without a doubt, you'll get your Che Cazz of the week. Don't even worry about it. What's going on, everybody? Before we get into this week's episode, I just want to thank you all for watching and listening and kindly remind you to please like, comment, subscribe, download, press all the buttons you can to support us. Watch us on YouTube, Dom and Pop Podcast, and check us out on Spotify, Amazon, Google Podcasts, all the good listening services at Dom and Pop DC Sports Talk Plus Podcast. Make sure to give us a download and make sure to also follow us at DC Sports Plus on Twitter and Instagram. Thanks a lot, guys.
Beautiful. Wow.
Thank you. You know, Pop, I couldn't have done it without your creative direction.
Exactly. That's producer extraordinaire.
Yep, that's what I needed. You sitting there and just looking at the camera with that 1,000-yard stare. I couldn't have, there's no way I could have got through that. Pop, what's going on, man? Long time no see.
I know. It's been forever, son. It's been forever.
Yeah, it's just been, what a week it's been. It's just an insane week. So busy, traveling, everything going on. But anyways, man, what do you say? ESPN
feels like it just
10.
flew by. I don't know what you think, but it just feels like it's since our last pod, it's just flown by.
It's just been unbelievable. I mean, the weeks turn into minutes these days. The older at my old age of 25, it really feels like things are just going by like that these days. So, yeah, I mean, tell you what, I wish every week would go by this fast. So
That's right.
Except for the ones that were at the beach, those need to slow down a little.
I agree with that.
Hey,
those tend to be the fastest.
Yeah, maybe there's a little. There's an Easter egg in our little intro for what could be coming up in some future episodes. But anyways, yeah, top 10 quarterback rankings this week. Let's talk about it. That ESPN list came out last week on ESPN Plus. We assume if you're listening, you probably have ESPN Plus, and if not, you definitely have Twitter, which I'm sure people have tweeted out what the rankings were for those of us.
We're going to give you the list, though. We're going to give them the list.
We're going to read it down. And you know what, ESPN? Come find me at my doorstep if you don't like it. We're going to read the list.
We're here to serve. We're here to serve the people.
The podcast of the people.
Especially Commanders Nation.
Yes, sir. Which, spoiler alert, Carson Wentz not on this top 10 list, unfortunately.
Che Cazz. I go early with the Che Cazz.
Taylor Heineke isn't either, which is a shame.
The Heineke Hive's going to be upset.
Yeah, so, Pop, do you want to read it or you want me to read it? How do you want to do this?
You go. You read it.
All right, so how about this? I'll do the first 5. You take the next 5? Split it up a little bit?
Sure.
All right.
In the spirit of sharing.
In the spirit of, this is Dom and Pop. It's not just a Dom featuring Pop. It's Dom and Pop, Let's split it up a little bit. So, number 1, Aaron Rodgers, Green Bay Packers. That's the top quarterback. I'm not going to read the team names anymore after the quarterbacks. That sounds kind of dumb. You know who Rodgers plays for. So Rodgers is the number 1 quarterback in the NFL. Highest ranking they had for him was number 1, of course. Lowest ranking was number 5. Last year they had him ranked at number 2. Age 38. Obviously he was the MVP last year. Had a hell of a season. Everybody kind of thought last year was going to be the beginning of the cliff, and it was certainly not that. Rodgers, great quarterback. Number 2, Patrick Mahomes. Highest ranking the guys had was number 1, lowest number 5. Only 26 years old. Last year they had him ranked at number 1. We don't need to talk about Mahomes. You guys know who Mahomes is. Great player. Future of the NFL. Number 3, guy that's scratching right at Mahomes for future of the NFL, Mr. Josh Allen. Highest ranking they had number 1, lowest was number 7. Last year's ranking number 5. Allen was a beast last year. Bills were an absolute force. They put up like 2,000 points on the Commanders in week 3 in what was one of the most depressing weeks of my life. Yeah, Josh Allen's a beast. Number 4, Tom Brady, Tampa Bay Buccaneers. GOAT.
Number 4 on this list, number 1 in Dominic's heart.
Always. Number 4 on this list, number 1 in the heart, number 1 in the history of team sports athletes. That's another podcast, though. Number 5. Number 5. My last read. Joe Burrow, Cincinnati Bengals. Number 5. Highest ranking that somebody had him at number 2. Lowest ranking out of the top 10. Somebody had him.
I know you get sized for Joe Burrow.
Love me some Joe Shiesty. Joe Burrow is literally my favorite. I sent Dad a YouTube reel at like 3 a.m. last night of Joe Burrow talking about how he was still living in his parents' basement or his parents' house when he got drafted, and he was talking about like he had the Star Wars themed childhood room. I love that guy. I mean, Joe Burrow is like, he's 25. He's exactly my age. It's cool. That's my guy. I love Joe. I think he's a beast. I think he is every bit as good as the other guys that we've mentioned, other than Brady. So pick up at number 6, Pop. Go ahead.
Yeah, maybe just a quick interjection here about this list, which I think makes it interesting. It's not really an ESPN list. It's a survey that ESPN did.
It's like the top 50 executives
50
or something
league
like that?
executives. So between coaches, scouts, and even some players, they picked 50, top people in the league to come up with this list. So that makes it a little more interesting, maybe even a little bit more meaningful to see what the league thinks here.
Yeah.
And, we're going to dispute this list. So, whether we're qualified to do that or not, who knows? But I think our list is going to be better than this list.
I think so, too. I think my list is better.
Number 6, Matt Stafford finally broke through, won that Super Bowl. He was highest ranking was 3rd. He wasn't in the top 10 at some point. He was ranked 6th last year, probably due to the fact that he was going to be on a team with a lot more weapons. Still in his prime, Matt Stafford 6th. Another one that I know I expect to be high up on Dominic's list,
That's
Justin
my boy.
Herbert.
That's my boy.
From the Chargers. We'll get into that a little bit. When we talk about our list, but he was ranked 9th last year. Only 24 still. Wow. A lot of upside there for Mr. Herbert. Russell Wilson down at 8. It's a little surprising he would be that low. He ranked 4th last year, so he's dropped quite a bit since last year. Deshaun Watson at number 9. A little bit of a surprise here. He would make the list given his situation. Certainly has great talent, top 10 talent, but to say he's 9th best going into the next year. And then what do we think about this one? Dak Prescott as a top 10 from our beloved Dallas Cowboys, ranked 7th last year. I know you are actually a Dak fan.
No, don't call me a Dak fan. As long as he wears the blue and silver, I will never be a fan of Dak Prescott. I think Dak Prescott is a talented quarterback. I think he's good. I cannot be a fan of his as long as he's a Cowboy. But I do wish he was on another team so I could root for him. But as long as he's a Cowboy, I will never root for his prosperity, because that means prosperity for the Cowboys, and I can't have that. I'll just go ahead and say it, spoiler, unless Jara was 10 of the 50 executives polled on this list, I don't know how you put Dak Prescott in the top 10. But that's how that went, so that's crazy to me. That's probably the most egregious ranking out of the group for me. What are some of your quick reactions to that list, Pop? What do you think?
Yeah, get him.
Yeah, that's insane. I mean, I had Dak Prescott on my fantasy. I stacked up Dak Prescott and Amari Cooper for my fantasy team last year, and I was like, I'm going to the championship. I lost in the first round of the playoffs. Had to blow the whole team up. Pulled Burrow off the waivers. Was starting him. It was ugly. But Pop, what are your quick reactions to that list before we get into our individual ones?
I'll tell you what. I think why don't we just jump in, give our list, and
there you go.
Obviously we can make a comparison from where we are to where they are. And you know what? I'm so on the edge of my seat. I can't wait any longer. I gotta hear Dom's take on his top 10 because I know it's going to be pretty bold.
All right.
And different. Coming from a 25-year-old's perspective, Dom gets sized for the young guys, the rookies, the potential. want to see who's on your list. I got to hear yours first.
So number 1, Zach Wilson. No, just kidding. Number.
I wouldn't be shocked.
Hey man,
That was for Scott.
Do your Twitter searches. But anyways, number 1, Pat Mahomes. Number 1 for me. Best quarterback in the NFL. Tough situation this year with losing his number 1 weapon with Tyreek. We'll see how he bounces back. But number 1 for me is Patrick Mahomes. I just don't think there's anybody you would be more scared to game plan against on any given Sunday in the NFL than Patrick Mahomes.
Yep.
Number 2, only because he's almost 50 years old. He should be number 1. But Tom Brady, number 2. Accolades speak
So
for
next year, he's the second best quarterback in the league that you would want on your team. Okay.
Yep.
Just making sure.
Accolades speak for themselves. He's a beast. If the Bucks decided to show up for the first 3 quarters of that game against the Rams, he would have won the Super Bowl again last year.
All right.
He's a beast.
Okay.
Brady, my number 2 for sure. Number 3, same as ESPN on this one, Josh Allen. Again, insane young talent. I think if we're talking just like the specimen of a quarterback, he's probably the best in the NFL. When you combine his size, his ability to run, and the gun on that dude's arm is just unbelievable. I am so excited to watch Josh Allen and Patrick Mahomes going forward. I can't wait for that. I'm so pumped about that. Number 4, probably the lowest ranking this guy's going to see. Aaron Rodgers for me at number 4. I think, again, a little bit about what I talked about with Mahomes. Who the hell is he going to throw to? I mean, really, Adams is gone, and I think...
That's a fair point.
I think Adams is gone, and I think you started to see Devonta Adams break out right around the same time that Rodgers was like, is he going to start teetering off the cliff a little bit here? And then the Adams breakout kind of catapulted him. And, I've watched a lot of, I'm not going to pretend to be an exec, I've watched a lot of YouTube videos on like wide receivers and technique and stuff like that, and Adams is a freak. So I think he definitely carried Rodgers a little, not totally carried Rodgers, but he definitely elevated Rodgers to be at his absolute maximum. Without him, I think he's number 4. Number 5, same as ESPN here, Joe Burrow. In my heart, he's higher on this list, but he only has 1 season of being that, so I can't give him that quite yet. But Joe Burrow, I look for another huge year this year, and I think we talk about receivers elevating quarterbacks. It's going to be hard to find a better young quarterback with a young receiver group. I mean, he's got Chase, of course, T. Higgins, Tyler Boyd. They got some dogs out there, and he's got Mixon out of the backfield. That's a hell of an offense. Burrow, number 5. Russ Wilson, number 6. I'd look for a bounce back this year. I think if we do this list next year, we're going to find Wilson in the top 5 again. But he just kind of had a rough year last year, so I had to knock him down. This guy's been my favorite quarterback in the NFL other than Brady since he's been starting in Seattle. I love him. Number 6, Russ Wilson. Number 7, Justin Herbert. Same as ESPN on this one.
I thought he'd be higher on your list.
I thought so too. Herbert feels like a top 5 guy to me, but when you put the names on the paper, I think next year he will be. But because I think Rodgers is probably going to slip out of that group for me. But right now I have to put Herbert there just because we haven't seen playoff success yet. And when we look at the guys ahead of him, we've got bona fide playoff success in all of these players. So no playoff success from Herbert, number 7. Ironically, number 8 is Matt Stafford, who just achieved the height of playoff success. But I think that had a lot to do with the defense and the genius of McVay and the brilliance of Cooper Kupp, which, of course, Stafford was throwing him the ball. But I think that's kind of a little knock on Stafford. But, yeah, great quarterback, of course. Wish he ended up in D.C. and not L.A., but he's in L.A. And number 9, Lamar Jackson. He made my top 10. Squeezed him in there. Got him to number 9. And it's funny, when I was doing the list, I was like, he's barely outside of the top 5 in my head. But then
that would have caused a lot of family problems if you didn't have him in your top 10.
Yeah, I'm about to be living in the same home as a Ravens fan for a week, so I had to squeeze it in there for
a Ravens insider
for stability.
Right.
Yeah, our exclusive Ravens insider,
official Ravens insider for the Dom and Pop show.
But yeah, so Lamar at number 9 for me, and it's just because it's Lamar Jackson. He's a beast, but I just couldn't like.
Did you know? I mean, our Ravens insider is signed and is getting a percentage of the Tom and Pop income. Unfortunately, that means that he has to pay us.
Yeah,
but
that's that's just kind of the way the splits are working out at the moment. But anyways, yeah, Lamar at number 9 for me. Again, this is a guy that feels like he should be higher on the list, but when I look at the names ahead of him, I guess you could argue maybe Russ based off how he played last year, but it's hard to say he's better than any of the quarterbacks that are ahead of him if you just go 1-to-1. And then number 10, right. This is a bit of a wild card. I wanted to sneak Derek Carr in here, but I couldn't leave Kyler Murray off the list. Number 10, Mr. Calamari. Shout out to my uncle, calls him Calamari. But Kyler Murray, number 10 there for me. I think he's an incredible talent. I think he's got to get his head straight. But talent-wise, this is another guy that I think maybe we see. I mean, hell, he could be number 1 on the list if he really got his head right and had the right year. I love Kyler Murray. So, number 10 on this list for me.
So, no Dak, which was pretty obvious from your earlier comments, and no Deshaun.
No Dak, no Deshaun. Deshaun, I just have no interest in ranking him right now with everything that's going on. There's just no way to know, and he hasn't. People don't place enough value on the fact that this dude hasn't played football in like 18 months at this point. Like
and all that off the field stuff and the pressure that comes with it and all of that, you just got to wonder about that. So I agree, those two aren't on my top 10 list, just as a bit of a spoiler. So we're aligned there. Definitely some differences, and I want you to feel free to come at me for my list. I know a couple of these you're not going to love too much.
I'll let you get down here. I'll let you
one individual in particular you're not going to love too much, but
here's what I'm going to
roll with it.
Here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to let you roll down your top 10. I'm going to write them down as you're rolling it, and then I'll give you my review after you drop your top 10. But you'll see some faces. Go ahead.
All right. Let's see if I can do this pretty rapid fire. So,
let them know.
1, we're in total agreement. Patrick Mahomes, for me, still the best to do it. Still the most dangerous. Probably gives defensive coordinators the biggest amount of nightmares. And, I think that's one criteria in ranking the list. And I go Pat Mahomes, number 1. Number 2 for me, Josh Allen. I think they're kind of 1 and 1A in terms of just talent, and to see the two of them really battle it out in the future. And, one thing that I was thinking as you were reading your list, Dominic, is Josh Allen is a great example of having patience, right? That first year, not great. People were wondering if he was a bust. And it's why, I'm never going to call a rookie a bust. Get into year 2, 3, and beyond. But that patience that they showed with him, I think a lot of teams could learn from that. And absolute, top talent in the league.
Agreed.
Third, I got Aaron Rodgers. So I think our top 3 between you, me, and ESPN is pretty much. You had Brady top
at 2.
You had Brady number 2, yes, and so not quite. Rodgers was 4 for you, but just incredible talent. If anything, I think you see it through the regular season. I agree with you. Weapons wise, that's a real concern for sure. But just incredible talent. And I think you probably have something to prove, this year, re-signing with Green Bay. I think he definitely wants another ring, whether he can get there. Fourth, I bumped Matt Stafford up. I think that now he's got that Super Bowl under his list. On his list now of accomplishments, I think it's gonna take the pressure off. He's gonna be loose. Tremendous talent that he's working with, so he's definitely gonna get a boost. I mean, who in this top group has more talent to work with than Matt Stafford? I got Stafford at 4. 5, Joe Burrow.
That's my boy.
So Tom Brady does not make my top 5. Anyone in this top 10 list you'd love to have, right? And I think the difference between these guys isn't great, but I just think that Tom Brady's winning as much this point with his experience and his leadership. And yeah, he can still sling it, and he still has great accuracy as a passer. Tom's my number 6 player on this list. And then I go Lamar Jackson at number 7. Again,
Wow.
Part of this is, who do you fear playing? Who gives you nightmares? Who's a matchup nightmare for you? And yeah, maybe not the classic drop back passer, but he can pass. He can sling it. He's going to do it a bit more on the run. They're going to lead with the pass. And you're right. Maybe they're not lead with the run. Sorry. And you're right. Maybe they're not showing enough trust in him. And maybe part of the problem is coaching. I don't know. I got Russell Wilson at 8. The shine is lost a little bit with Russell and me. I don't know. I can't quite figure out. I just, this vibe from him is a little bit more me first lately, and just sort of wanting to post videos of workouts and, want to talk about his greatness a little bit more. And I just like to see a little bit more of it on the field. But, still when you watch him play, still undeniably a great player. I think the jury's out a little bit how all this is going to work out in Denver for Russ. 9 is Justin Herbert. I just feel like he might be, I know you're going to hate me for this, a little overhyped. I just got to see more. It's not translating into playoff seasons. Although, San Diego, they had a top pick for a reason in order to be able to get Herbert. A top 5 pick. I think he went in top 5. But I just need to see a little bit more. I need to see flash. I need to see wins. And my 10th, you debated these two guys as well. I put Derek Carr in there. I'm a big Derek Carr fan. I agree it was tough to keep Kyler Murray out. But last year was a real concern with Kyler Murray in just terms of how that went south and sour, and the bickering,
the speed
back
that it
and
went
forth that occurred.
Yeah.
But I go Carr 10th, and then an honorable mention to Kyler Murray at 11th. So that's where I'm at.
Yeah.
On the top 10.
I probably swapped. I did swap those. I'd have Kyler at 10 off potential.
Yeah.
And honorable mention would be Carr, who probably is the 10th best quarterback in the league, but Kyler has reached and I think will reach higher heights.
I think he's got the potential for sure in terms of, he's kind of got a lot of the things that Lamar has that you fear, but I think he's a better passer of the ball. Interesting enough, given his height and everything, he's really a great, accurate, drop back passer when he wants to be. He does play a little too much hero ball, and I think that gets him in trouble. And, that's one of the things that even gets a Pat Mahomes in trouble sometimes.
Yeah,
just let it come to you.
Some of that.
Play naturally. Try and run the play that's called, right?
I think some of that fall apart last year, too, was injuries were rough in Arizona. They lost Hopkins for a bit. The weapon situation was a little questionable out there. I mean, their number 2 receiver was Christian Kirk, I think, and then A.J. Green. So a lot of just bodies out there. He didn't really have a ton of talent. Now we see Hopkins is going to be back healthy after the suspension. Marquise Brown out there is a better number 2 receiver than they've had in years. Zach Ertz, they brought in towards the end of the season. He's going to be, I think he's a great tight end. I think he's super underrated. So he's going to have the weapons now. And obviously James Conner, kind of was a beast the end of last year. So hopefully that keeps up. But, yeah, I like Kyler. I mean, of course, Carr just got Adams, so he'll probably be in our top 10 next year. But
so, yeah, that was a lot of fun, son.
It was great.
Given the top 10 there and debating that, and I'm sure it's part of a lot of debate. That list came out.
So, something funny.
A week and a half ago.
So, something funny about this is I thought I was going to have the young man's list, but looking at them side by side, I think you have the young man's list more than me. I mean, you got Josh Allen number 2, which I think I agree with in terms of pure talent. And, in terms of, if you had to pick a quarterback for the next 20 years, or if you had to say you could have any quarterback in the NFL right now, same contract, same money, pick one.
It's still Mahomes for me.
I think, right, Mahomes is number 1, but I think Allen would be number 2, and it's a close number 2. But it's just because of that age factor for me. So it's funny that you had Allen at number 2. That was a big reaction for me. Stafford, I think, is egregiously high, personally, because I think without Aaron Donald, Joe Burrow drives the ball down the field and the Bengals win that Super Bowl.
We'll see. We'll see.
Stafford at number 4, definitely that's pretty high, but we'll see how that goes. We started and bookended, some might say, the top 5 in agreement with Burrow there. And then the Russ disrespect is egregious. That's ridiculous.
He's in the top 10. He's in my top 10. I just said it's a little bit of the shine's off for me.
Dude, a Super Bowl, 9 Pro Bowls, he's a beast. Russ is, and in Seattle.
Long time ago. A Super Bowl was a long time ago.
Okay, if Seattle doesn't have a top 5 pick this year, that's another bet. Seattle is going to be top 5 in draft picks next year. We're going to see just how terrible they are.
Bottom 5.
But yeah, no, they're going to have a top 5 draft pick. Meaning they're a bottom 5 team. They're going to be a bottom 5 team. They're going to be horrible. We're going to see just how good Russ was when we see how bad Seattle is this year. Pete Carroll's going to be on the hot seat. Yeah, that's insane. Russ Wilson's my boy. I think I was even like...
Where did you have Russ?
I was offended at myself.
6th. I was 2 spots lower than you.
I told you. I was only at 6 because of last year. I would have...
What's outrageous is Tom Brady at number 2 at 45 years old.
All right.
That's outrageous.
All right, that's fine. That's fine. When he's drinking avocado tequila and drunk tweeting next March, we'll talk about it, all right?
Yeah, that could absolutely happen.
He's going to win another one. It's because
of the team that's built around him. They got a top defense. They got some of the best weapons in the league.
They had all those...
He's a great leader. He's still rated 6th on my list.
Look.
He's a great leader of that team. He could still get it done.
Look.
But he's not the second best quarterback in the league, son. Come on.
No disrespect. We know this is a pro J-Bo podcast. Jameis Winston, we love the guy. They had all the same pieces there, and they were younger when Winston was there. And that was a team that everybody circled on the calendar and was like, we get to play the Bucs. We're going to smack them. So,
he's 6. Anyone in the top 10 deserves a great thing. He's still great. Still deserves greatness around him. But... Defenses fear that team. Coaches fear that team because of that whole group.
Not
just because of Brady.
Coaches fear that team because of Brady, and Brady's intellect, and the fact that Brady can and will pick apart any team every Sunday. Watch it happen again this year. Let's cap off the top 10 talk there. I'm getting hot. You had Lamar high, but I think from like 7 down, like those 4 guys you could kind of put in any order. Obviously, you had Carr instead of Kyler, so maybe say those 5 guys from 7 to 11 you could put in any order, and I won't be too upset about. But yeah, put some respect on Tom Brady and Russell Wilson. I can't believe the young guy here, am telling you to put some respect on the old heads.
That's because
that's wild, man.
What the deal is, son. I hate to say this, I love you, but I rate more with this than that, and you rate more with, the heart, the ticker. And I love you for it. You're
Boy's got a lot of heart. Boy's got a lot of heart. What can I say?
Nah, I'm just joking.
But hey, so speaking of that, real quick, I mean, I don't have a formal number. I don't know if you do. But this is a DC podcast. We got to talk about it. Where's Carson Wentz?
Yeah, I mean, it is interesting, and and part of it's going to be a lead-in that we're going to get into a little bit later in terms of just where people have him rated. But I mean, honestly, like when I look at this, we're not going to put him in the top 10. All right, we're not that big of homers, and to some degree the jury is still out. But I get you get past the top 10, top 11 because we got Kyler Murray in there as as our 11th,
let's get that straight.
11th
you got Kyler Murray in there as number 11. I got Derek Carr as number 11. Just let's clear that up.
Between those two, all right, keep it fair. But then, like, if you look at what's left, right? Got Matt Ryan. A lot of preseason, great talk about Matt. Do you want to put Matt slightly ahead of, Carson? Maybe. I'm not convinced. Kirk Cousins. Do you sit there and go, well, Kirk is just obviously better than Carson? Okay, you want to put Kirk in there, so that gets us to 13?
With Kevin O'Connell, definitely.
Now a Ryan Tannehill is kind of next on the list. A Dak Prescott. Then you got folks like Jameis Winston, Daniel Jones, Jalen Hurts, Tua Tagovailoa. I'm not putting any of those guys ahead of Carson. Drew Lock out of Seattle, even though, there's lists that got those guys ranked ahead of Carson. So I'm going 15. I'm going right there at 15 for my boy Carson Wentz. I'll put,
All right.
I'll reluctantly put Matt Ryan, Kirk Cousins, and let's just say Dak ahead of him in the top group.
Yeah.
And then I'll throw Carson as 15.
While you were doing that, I was just quickly scratching down all the names that I could think of.
Right.
In no particular order, Carr 11, Dak 12. Actually, this is rough order. 11 Carr, Dak 12, 13 Kirk Cousins, 14 Matt Ryan, 15 Tannehill, 16 Jameis, 17 Wentz. So I have Wentz at 17. I think Wentz could perform. I think his ceiling is around 12. I think we can get him playing at his best around that. Dak, Cousins, bottom Derek Carr's floor range. But I think that overall, ultimately, I think the lows are so low with Wentz and have been so low, we kind of can't Ashburn ourselves out of pretending like we're not going to have those. And historically, I hate to say it, this has been a team that's pushed the lows a little bit and maybe amplified the lows a bit with certain players. So Wentz 17 for me. I hope I'm wrong. I hope he does more than that. I think 17 and 11 and 6, I don't think those two things go together at all. But I think realistically we're going to see something around 17 for Wentz when we look at the other quarterbacks around the league.
Yeah, the only name that we didn't really mention in any of that was Jalen Hurts. And apparently, which you love to see if you're a Commanders fan,
Yeah.
they say it's been pretty rough with him in the offseason in terms of really, learning the offense from a quarterback, classic drop back quarterback perspective. There's been a lot of concerns around that. That's where some of the rumors are. But I think he's the guy that has got a tremendous amount of talent and definitely could work his way up there. But hey, I hope the reports are 100% true. But let's jump into our Che Cazz of the week, son. I think that was a ton of fun. You've got Wentz 17. I got him 15. A bit more respect. We'll see what happens through the course of the season. It'll be fun to track that.
I mean, not our Che Cazz of the week, but just to tie off that last point, a brief Che Cazz to Nick Sirianni and whoever the hell is trying to make Jalen Hurts a true drop-back passer over there in Philly. But you know what? I think he's got true drop-back potential, and as a Commanders fan, I think you guys should have him passing out of the pocket 85, 90% of plays. I would love that. Stop trying to fit.
It's not that that's where they're going to end up, but it makes sense during the offseason
to try and develop that a little bit
see
more.
What you got.
I get it. I'm a young guy. I think we should stop trying to fit square pegs in round holes. I think you only have 6 or 7 true drop back passers in the NFL, and the rest of the guys, let them run, let them do college style offenses, let them play to the best of their ability. Anyways, let's move on. Che Cazz of the week. Pop, kick it off.
I think, generally our Che Cazz this week is just all the Commanders hate, right? From where, and, some of this is happened through the course of the month, and we're kind of catching up on things that might be a couple of weeks old at this point. But, there's just so much to talk about on the Dom and Pop show. We got to catch up sometimes. And it's really just two issues where the team itself is ranked and, Carson Wentz as well, which we kind of got into the Carson Wentz thing, maybe touch on that quick. People got him just in that low 20s range as in their rankings very often. A ton of disrespect in the quarterback rankings for Carson. So, Che Cazz to that. I hope we're a bit more right. I think if he can be top 15-ish, I think we're going to be all right. If he's definitely in that 25 to 30 range, and a lot of lists have him in, it's going to be big trouble. And we talked a little bit about the quarterback tiers a few pods back. So, but then like the Commanders, I mean, that we got power rankings from PFF that got the Commanders. I think I'm looking here on my notes here real quick. Sorry, got the Commanders at 23rd in the power rankings. Dallas is 12th, Philly's 13th. Got Philly 10 spots ahead of Washington in the power rankings. Giants 26, so we're barely ahead of the Giants. And then this dude from the NFL Network, right, predicts that we go 0-8 to start the season.
That's insane.
In a game-by-game breakdown, has us with 3 wins. Like, I mean, I think the Vegas over-under is 7.5, 8. I know it changes. That seems about right to me. If you got us somewhere between 7 and 9 wins, I'm not going to hate on you. But 3 wins for the year with this team that we've got and this talent and having a start in the year 0-8, I mean, that's just insane. The hate, I guess it's this Jeremy Brenner. I guess he's a reporter for the
tell you what,
NFL Network.
I want to know how much Jeremy Brenner has on that Las Vegas under, because that'll really tell me what he actually thinks and what he's just saying.
3-14 is what he picked.
Yeah,
0-8 start.
He doesn't have a lot of money on that under. I want to see it. I want to see. You know what? Tweet us at Dom and Pop at DC Sports Plus. Tweet us on Twitter, Jeremy Brenner. Tweet us your ticket, how much you bet on the Commanders under, because you should be slamming. You should have your house bet on 3 wins. You should have your house bet on that with the 7.5 line. So tweet me how much you bet on that, and then I'll believe you. I think that's nuts. I will say the PFF article stuck in limbo feels about right for this team. I hate to say it. You look at the other teams around there, Steelers, Vikings, Lions, Jets, Giants, I would say they're probably in the rebuilding tier. But can you say we're better than Minnesota definitively? Can you say we're better than Pittsburgh definitively? I don't know. That feels about right. There's some other spots. I don't think 23 is correct. But hey, I mean, going into last year, we got ranked 24, and we were all like, I think that's kind of nuts. I think that's too low. And everybody was like, guys, Ryan Fitzpatrick is your starting quarterback. That's the plan. And then we turned out to be about there. That was about the correct ranking for us last year. So I'm just a little bit of PTSD with, like, we're ranked 23.
So is this a Che Cazz for you or not? I'm confused.
Well, to the NFL Network guys, definitely a Che Cazz. And to the people saying that, like, Wentz is in the, like, Justin Fields, Zach Wilson tier, you're also nuts. Wentz is a serviceable starting quarterback, but there's not 32 Tom Brady's out there. Sorry. We're doing what we can, So Che Cazz to that
I guess
as well,
PFF actually had Wentz ranked 23rd with his performance last year using the metrics that they have. So, 23rd for Wentz, 23rd for Commanders. I guess, that's their justification.
It's an easy cut and paste.
Come on, 3-14.
Yeah, that's 3-14 is just nuts. So massive Che Cazz to that. I just have a little.
Now let's just pray we're not sitting here. I don't know, approximately 25 weeks from now.
It's not going to take that long
staring
for us
at
to know.
a 3-14.
Hey, it's not going to take that long for us to know whether or not we're in that.
First year of Dom and Pop pod, we got to have a good year from the Commanders. Come on.
We start the season.
We are the good luck charms.
Jacksonville, Detroit, Philly, right? That's 1, 2, 3. First 3 games.
I don't have it memorized. So
I'm pretty sure it's
putting me on the spot here.
I'm pretty sure it's
throwing me a curveball.
I have it written down. Let me check it. Jacksonville, Detroit, Philly. If we start the season 0-3, we'll know at that point. Against those 3 teams, we'll know whether or not we're headed towards the 3-14 season.
That would not be a good sign.
So it's not going to take us 22
especially those
weeks.
first 2 games.
Yeah. But anyways, I mean, Pop, super fun episode. We covered our Che Cazz. We had a great time ranking. It's always fun to kind of zoom out from the Commanders a little bit and just talk general NFL because, we're both big fantasy football guys and we're both just big NFL fans in general. So I know our opinions and our knowledge extend past. So it's fun to show that. It's fun to show that off a little bit. It's fun to let the people in on that. But I'm about
Dave
ready to
Portner
wrap
is going to
up
be calling any moment, son.
Hey, Dave,
I
find
just
the
know
number.
Let the bidding begin between like Barstool and ESPN and all those groups, man.
Hey, man, look.
Call our agent.
Highest bidder.
That's right.
Highest bidder.
If the Live Tour calls, we're in. despite my opinions in the earlier, if they wanna, father-son podcast and us to hype the tour, we're all about it.
They match Dustin Johnson's contract. Just tell me where to sign, baby. But anyways, with that, I mean, I've been Dom.
This is Pop.
And I thank you guys so much for listening. It's really cool.
I'm on your chain, can't complain. You're so lovely, looking past paradise. I'm so close to heaven now, just waiting on you. Love me like that, just love me like I love you, baby. Just love me like I love.